With respect to the defense forces, victory is not declared by mere rhetoric, as some entities in our neighborhood have done so, but demonstrated through evidence, like what we showcased during Operation Sindoor. A sense of victory cannot be built on demolished terror infrastructure, damaged runways, crippled airfields, and dysfunctional air defense systems. Such kind of victories or slogans do not endure, and actual Vijay lies in demonstrated evidence than verifiable outcomes. Options about permanent friends or adversaries are increasingly becoming unreliable, and in today's world, it's difficult to define who are your friends, who are your allies, who are your enemies, and who are your adversaries. India must therefore be prepared mentally, structurally, and materially to act independently when required. Partnerships are valuable when aligned with national interest, but they cannot substitute for indigenous capability. I begin deliberately with these two words, not just as a greeting, but as a reminder that these words, when anchored in purpose, can shape history, and when translated into action, means victory. Normally, we conclude any talk, etc., by these words of Jai Hind, but I purposely actually have started my talk with this Jai Hind right at the beginning, because I think it's a beginning of a journey. Jai Hind was always been a call. It has been a clarion call for victory, victory for the nation, victory for India, victory for Bharat. Coined in 1907 by Chempa Cameron Pillai and later immortalized by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, it united people around a single cause of nationalism. Almost 6 decades later, the Indian Armed Forces adopted this INA's slogan as a means of salutation in their day-to-day military life. As you would realize, from the very origin, Jai Hind has been about purpose. It demanded effort, and that distinction matters deeply for us even today. Jai Se Vijay, the theme of this particular seminar, has been aptly chosen by the Southern Army, not just as a slogan. I think, in fact, it's a strategic axiom. Jai and Vijay both are intricately intertwined, and mention of this was made by none other than the Army commander. विजय होगी तभी जो है जयकार और जय जय होगी, and जय होगी तो विजय होगी. In fact, jay is embedded in that word of Vijay, as you see over there. So thus Jai and Vijay is not, Jai Se Vijay is not a reversal of a sequence, but a reaffirmation of a purpose of modern times. Jai is meaningful only when it is the outcome of Vijay, and Vijay can be achieved only through Jai. With respect to the defense forces, victory is not declared by mere rhetoric, as some entities in our neighborhood have done so, but demonstrated through evidence, like what we showcased during Operation Sindoor. A sense of victory cannot be built on demolished terror infrastructure, damaged runways, crippled airfields, and dysfunctional air defense systems. Such kind of victories or slogans do not endure, and actual Vijay lies in demonstrated evidence than verifiable outcomes. Today, like General Dheeraj Seth brought out, Jai has been reimagined, and during the Combined Commanders Conference held in Kolkata, the Honorable Prime Minister, according to this acronym Jai, he coined this as Jointness, Atmanirbharta and Innovation. So today, for the defense forces, when we talk about Jai Se Vijay, we actually, Netaji Jai, he actually was the original gentleman who coined this and actually popularized it. He actually, that time it represented freedom from direct foreign rule. And we talk about today, it's about freedom from foreign dependency. Jai, in fact, also represents freedom from colonial mindset, which should encourage original kind of thinking, and it should promote, it should kind of revive original thinking or Indian thought process. So why this is important is because currently India's defense posture for the next decade is required to be shaped by a sober assessment of what lies ahead, what kind of challenges lies ahead. And I believe it's increasingly becoming very, very competitive, confrontational, combative, fragile, and technology very disruptive. Today, the world is passing through the most dramatic moment in global geopolitics, if I may say. It's a moment of great uncertainty and flux. And I would like to bring out a few trends which I notice in what lies ahead. Firstly is the rise of coercive nationalism and economic weaponization. Trade, supply chains, technology access, data, and critical resources are increasingly being used as tools of strategic leverage by nations. Second, there is a clear departure and retreat from utopian ideas, which we used to hear earlier, of convergence or so seamless globalization. Migration pressures, demographic imbalance, social polarization, unemployment, and inequality are placing societies, especially liberal democracies, at tremendous amount of strain. Third, this is an era defined by accelerated technological advancement or technological change or technological disruption, one may say. Technology is no longer an enabler. It has become a decisive determinant of power. Advances in quantum computing, artificial intelligence, data analytics, machine learning, long-range precision, these are actually shaping not only deterrence, but escalation and warfare itself. Fourth, there is a visible erosion of established norms and expectations of good state behavior. Concepts which we thought are far settled, actually, the concept of sovereignty, concept of territorial integrity, are increasingly being questioned today. As a result, the geographical boundaries which define nation states, which we thought were immutable, are increasingly being questioned. And might today is becoming right, and the rule-based order as put to rest. Fifthly, there is an increased propensity to use force. Now, this is happening because of two things, advances in precision and long-range targeting. And because of this, there is no collateral damage, and hence that moral dilemma between nation states to use force, that's evaporating very, very rapidly. Sixth, wars, I think, have become obsolete. When I say wars have become obsolete, declared wars have become obsolete, and these are giving way to proxy wars and gray zone warfare. Competition today is more likely to manifest through proxies, but accompanied by high implications, sub-threshold operation, cyber activity, and sustained kind of pressure. Alongside these trends, cognitive and information warfare has emerged as a central battle space. Influence operation, disinformation, narrative manipulation are directly targeting societies rather than forces. The objective of all this is to fracture cohesion, paralyze decision-making, and weaken resolve through triggering conventional responses, without triggering conventional responses. Seventhly, the security challenges are also expanding into non-traditional domains. Health pandemics, biorisks, disruptions of critical infrastructure, climate risk-related stresses have demonstrated their ability to create strategic level effects. Strategic alignments, meanwhile, have become fluid and transactional. Assumptions about permanent friends or adversaries are increasingly becoming unreliable, and in today's world, it's difficult to define who are your friends, who are your allies, who are your enemies, and who are your adversaries. India must therefore be prepared mentally, structurally, and materially to act independently when required. Partnerships are valuable when aligned with national interest, but they cannot substitute for indigenous capability or the power to demonstrate the freedom of choice. So when we talk about Jai Se Vijay or about Vijay, what are we talking about Vijay? Vijay over what? Victory over what? I think when we talk about victory, it's about overcoming our strategic vulnerabilities. It is victory by overcoming our prejudices, overcoming our old doctrinal thoughts, which are no longer relevant today. It's about demolishing organizational silos. And simply put, this would be something like freedom from a colonial mindset, which the Honorable Prime Minister has been saying, गुलामी की मानसिकता से छुटकारा. So it's appropriate then we talk about Jai Se Vijay here in Pune, because it's in this particular land, much before these modern doctrines were written, this land produced a leader who instinctively understood strategy as a fusion of indigenous thought, structure, technology, and will. Chhatrapati Shivaji was the original gentleman who, one would say, would promote strategic thought in India. He was a warrior king. He was a strategist of transformation. And he sought, if I say, victory through adaptation to terrain, decentralized command structures, indigenous capability, speed, surprise, and precision. Most importantly, Shivaji Maharaj understood something timeless. Victory to those belongs to those who think originally and those who act independently. When we talk about this Jai Se Vijay, it actually involves a kind of discard of your ideas, adaptation to new ones. And this resonates with this Indian trinity of Jai, preservation and creation, which is represented by Brahma, Vishnu, and something like Mahesh, in which we find that before we have to discard, before we can create anything, we have to discard something. It also talks about preservation. So that is a thing I think it's important, and we must look at this particular aspect. And when we talk about discard, we are actually talking about discard is or related to destruction is always thought as in a negative kind of form, but when you talk about destruction, it's about creative destruction, so that you can create something new. It may look like an oxymoron or paradoxal, but this is, I think, very important, because in the armed forces, as you say, it's difficult to get an old idea out than to get a new idea inside. So primarily this particular philosophy aligns with how we must approach changes in our defense forces. We must discard what is no longer serving operational purpose, preserve what remains effective, and innovate what would be required in the future. Blind adaptation or full rejections are equally flawed. The relevance of Jai, as the acronym has been coined, let me talk about jointness, Atmanirbharta, and innovation. Jointness demands, I believe, dismantling of service-specific silos and legacy notions of domain primacy. Atmanirbharta requires courage to move beyond inherited dependence and comfortable procurement habits. Innovation compels us to abandon outdated doctrines, processes, and mindsets. Ultimately, Jai is about securing Vijay. Is the most comprehensive sense. It's not just victory over adversary, but equally victory over inertia, prejudices, and institutional comfort. So aim of Jai mission, if I were to summarize, would be to reform institutions, processes, and mindsets, upgrade defense and military preparedness for present and for future. Let me now speak about all this in an individual kind of manner, or a constituents of what is Jai. Jointness, I believe, is often misunderstood as an organizational exercise. It is not. Jointness is first a mental construct. Structures can enable, but they cannot compel joint thinking. True jointness emerges when commanders and staff plan across domains instinctively, think of effects, not platforms, operate as one force, not as three services. Atmanirbharta, on the other hand, is about strategic autonomy and not isolation. Atmanirbharta is often reduced to Indianization matrices, and its narrow approach is only restricted to defense manufacturing or defense R&D. I think it's more about self-realization. Atman is about realization of the self, and it's about exploring your inner self. Inner's capability, I believe, will strengthen deterrence, sustain prolonged operations, and enable rapid adaptation. And also what is to be understood, that strategic autonomy does not reject partnerships, but it ensures that national objectives are never hostage to external vulnerabilities. Innovation, on the other hand, is a decisive edge. It's not limited to technology. It must permeate doctrines, training, leadership, culture, and organizational behavior. In an era where character of warfare is changing at an express rate, the ability to learn, adapt, and outthink the adversary is itself a combat capability. By institutionalizing jointness, exploiting Atmanirbharta, and embedding innovation in our military DNA, we can ensure that national acclaim rests on credible strength, operational superiority, and enduring deterrence. In the end, Jai Se Vijay reaffirms a timeless principle. Jai is only meaningful when it succeeds Vijay, and the pathway to Vijay is through Jai. Jai is a journey from inherited thinking to intellectual sovereignty, from structures to systems, from intent to outcomes. Jointness delivers unity of effort, Atmanirbharta ensures strategic autonomy, innovation provides decisive advantage. Together, they ensure a force capable of directing conflict, prevailing when required, and securing India's national interests. From Jai Hind to Jai Se Vijay, this is our responsibility, and this is the future that we must bind together.